Welcome back to another video. Today I want to be talking about the gearbox shimming. So at the moment I've just pulled apart my M4A1 JinMing Generation 8, because basically if I pull the trigger right now, this is the gearbox, you'll hear this sound, and I don't want to do that again. But if you look right here, the gears have unlocated and slipped inside the gearbox. So they're basically at the moment not locating onto each other, they're just free spinning. And that's why you get that whir sort of sound. So basically this happened mid-game, so I was out there playing, shooting, bang bang, bang bang. I was kicking ass, literally, and chewing bubblegum. And then all of a sudden, I was there just chewing bubblegum because my gun stopped working. So, yeah. I think it's funny with these guns because if you look at how they're shimmed from stock, so when you first get one, you open up the gearbox, you look, there's only one shim on the bottom of the gear set. From what I've seen anyway, in my experience. I haven't pulled apart a lot of guns. But yeah, because obviously you've got spacers on the top to fill the space between the top shaft of the gears and the top of the gearbox. And I mean really, these bushes should locate into place a little better. They shouldn't really pull back into the gearbox, but obviously they do. So I'm going to say the best and easiest solution to that is just shimming them on the top as well as the bottom and just packing out that space to make sure they don't unlocate mid-game, and that'll just really like keep them in there a lot tighter and smoother as well. And obviously, hopefully, your gears will last a lot longer than, and hopefully they won't do this. So I'm going to open this up and then I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to move the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. So let's do this thing. Honestly, I just like transitions. I don't know why, I think they're just fun to do. And I'm not even that good at them. But so anyway, this is my house. Okay, so I've just pulled off the cover. And a few things to take into consideration, and this is the perfect gearbox to show you. So this is the first gear set I put in, and I didn't shim the gears. So right here you can see the gears have been rubbing. That's exactly why you shim your gears, to stop them from rubbing, and obviously you get metal build up inside because obviously the shavings haven't gone anywhere. Another thing to look at, if we remove this gear, when we look at this anti-reverse latch, the spring is actually broken. So this spring should have a little clip on it. So that is actually broken. I'm pretty sure I have another one to replace it with. These bushes can come out and get put back into the top half. If this has happened to your gearbox, I would first start off. See, these are the spacers I was talking about. Obviously they're not long enough to hold the bushes in to the top half of the gearbox by themselves, so you do need additional space or an additional, you basically just need them to be longer, but instead of going out and making something, we're just going to be using shims. And I just bought this SHS shim kit to use. Oof. So, and just make sure you don't have any screws that fall inside where you've got it apart. You don't want anything in here when you put it back together. Try not to pull your trigger out because don't touch anything you don't need to. Like just inspect everything, but try not to pull things out if you don't have to, if this is your first time. You always want to check your piston O-ring. And a good maintenance tip is just to clean it up and re-grease it. Check your ladder, make sure it's not rubbing or stripping. Like sometimes, this is a good one because it's a metal ladder, but a nylon ladder might slowly wear away over time. So that would be a replaceable part. Make sure your return spring is okay. You can pull out your nozzle, you just want to make sure, you know, that pulls back and goes back into position, just like that. And obviously, if you've never done this before, just make sure your ladder is facing down, because that's what your gears are actually pulling that. So I've just pushed the bushes back in where they go here. That's the top half of the shell. I've just grabbed myself anti-reverse latch spring. That's exactly the clip I'm talking about there. Let me try and focus that for you. There you go. So this old one you can just yeet away. And the first thing I would do is inspect the teeth of each gear and make sure they haven't stripped. So this has a bit of wear on the edges, but that'll still run okay. If the wear is excessive, I would just discard them straight away. I wouldn't even worry about putting them back in. This has a bit of wear as well. So this is exactly what will happen to your gears if they haven't been shimmed properly. So, like I said, this was the first gear set I put in. I didn't think shimming was as important as it is, because if you look at the factory shimming, they aren't really shimmed anyway. But obviously each gear set is different, and you just want to get the most out of your GelBlaster without constantly replacing parts. So we've got gear 1, gear 2 and gear 3. That's what I call them, just because that's the easiest thing. So gear 1, I would put in a 0.1 shim. Gear 2, I would put in a 0.5 shim. Gear 3, I would put in a 0.3 millimeter shim. And obviously each gear set is different, so shim them based on your own personal... It's hard to say because there's no one way to do this, really. You've just got to feel your gear set and kind of make sure they're just not rubbing. I mean, the best thing to do is just shim them. Maybe, you know, shim them in the way I said. Have a couple games, maybe 2 or 3 games, open up your gearbox again, have a look, and then play around with different shim sizes and work it out for yourself what's going to be the best. So this shim set comes with a 1. So this shim set I got comes with a 1, 2 and 3. So I'm not sure on the sizes. It should say on the packet. It doesn't even say on the packet, because it's a Chinese part, Japanese part, I don't know. It's got a QR code here. I'm going to scan that and I'm going to see what it says. It literally just takes you to their storefront. It doesn't even give you any advice or information. Fun stuff. Anyway, I've got another shim set up here that is sized, so I'm actually going to use them so I know what I'm putting in. So we've got 0.3, 0.1 and 0.5. I'm going to use them, and then I'm going to use these SHS set to shim from the top. So 0.1 millimeter shim on this guy, 0.5 millimeter shim on this guy. And a 0.3mm shim on this guy. But before I put this guy in, I'm going to have to put in the anti-reverse latch. Which clips on like so. And it does like to jump out sometimes, which can make it a bit hard. Hopefully yours will hold into place. And now, like I said, we've got to put some shims on the top to space it up. So this is the SHS set. I'm going to use the ones labeled 3, which are a bit thicker. And I'm literally just going to push them on at the top. Whoop. Make sure that doesn't happen. If that does, don't leave it in there, just get it out. That's 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9, and that's exactly how many I would put on there, because if you look right here, you've got just enough room for your bush, and that's what you want to look at, just because you really don't want that to happen again. So I'm going to see if I have enough shims here to actually pack it all out. And now the professional thing to do would be to just make taller spaces. But these are only GelBlasters, so we're not too worried. I'm going to use all of those ones as well. So I've got one more set left, which is hopefully, because I think these ones are the smallest, they're just labelled 1. But I'm going to put all of these on the top as well, if I need to. Okay, I think that will be enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the top shell back on, and then yeah, we'll cut the frame. Alright, and here we have reassembled the gearbox. I've plugged in the battery, and and it works again. And obviously a good way to test it is try and, after you've reassembled it, try and push in your bushes and make sure they don't fall back into the shell. And then you are good to go. You're good to play as many games as you feel like, as many games as you want, as many games as you goddamn can, because you are the man or woman. But like I said, I would play for maybe 2 or 3 games, maybe 4, depending on the length of play. I would disassemble it, inspect your gears again, and then take notes. And then over time, you'll know exactly how to shim your gears. But like I've said many times, gear sets are going to vary in a couple millimeter because they can. So just be careful, be safe, and have some fun. In my next video, I'm going to be upgrading my MP5 because basically it's got feeding issues, which I've seen a lot of people struggle with. So I want to play around and increase FPS and fire rate and see if I can fix that, because I am sick of being out playing and my gun jams up, and then basically I've got to pull out the mag, shake it around, shoot it, try and get that gel out, push the mag back in. Sometimes holding down the fire, holding down the trigger, letting it fire, pushing your mag back in can help. But I just don't want that, and I think that's why a lot of people go to HPA systems, which would be fun to play around with. But yeah, thank you for being a fantastic viewer, and I will see you on the next video.